I don't care if you live in South Dakota, Idaho, or, where you live in the United States. If you're not charging minimum of about $150, you're just afraid of charging. Welcome back. Best hour of their day, listeners. We've got a special guest, Melody Feldman. Now, Melody, you've been... No, it feels so unusual calling you Melody, by the way. So Mel. Let's go back to normal. Mel, you've been an affiliate owner over 13 years in Washington, D.C., CrossFit MPH. And you're a longtime part of CrossFit seminar staff.
I am. All I heard was you're a longtime part of seminar staff.
Well, you are. That was the most important part. But you're a 13-year affiliate owner out in D.C.
That's correct, yes.
So, I want, you've got just, a lot of experience in this CrossFit world. So we can talk about many things. And then I do want to talk about your experience getting on seminar staff. But one of the main purposes of talking to you was on social media, I had put out there about kind of average rates of a box. And you are up there. I mean, David Osorio's up there in Brooklyn, but you are right beside him in Washington, D.C. But before I talk about that, tell me this. As a fellow member of the tribe, MOT.
I knew this was coming up.
All right.
Yes.
Are your parents as disappointed in you as mine are in me for owning an affiliate and doing the fitness thing instead of your standard, Jewish trajectory? Do they express it to you like mine do every day? They send me a text like we're still disappointed in you.
I know what you mean, but my parents like kind of break the mold there. They're just like, they would be proud if I just worked at CVS or Subway. Like they don't care, so.
Must be nice to have just understanding parents. I don't know. Yeah. But every day, like, hey, just like I get my daily text, just reminder, we're still disappointed. We love your sisters more than you. Yeah. But it's all good. It's all good because I get to do what I love just like you do. So 13 years at MPH in Washington, D.C. But let's talk first, before that, seminar staff. We've been on seminar staff about the same time. Hard to believe we're talking a decade, right? Like coming up on 10 years.
Yeah, next year, I think. I started 2013.
Yeah, I think same.
Yeah. We were in that same cadre.
Tell me about your journey. I think the listeners know mine. Many, many internships. What was your journey getting on staff?
Well, I had 2 internships. My first one was like the standard, just don't do anything, just watch.
Who was in charge of that? Do you remember the flow master?
Eric O'Connell? Is that right?
Okay.
No, he's gonna.
You're talking about Eric O'Connor out of Utah.
Eric O'Connor.
Yeah, you don't see him very often. I'll give you that one.
For a second, I know Eric.
Yeah, good guy. Part of the old competitors program in CrossFit as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't remember much about that one other than that it was at Trident and I didn't do anything except like furiously erase the board between and offer to get people coffee, but that's it. On my second internship, I had, what is her name? Nicole Gordon.
Okay.
Nicole Gordon.
You had distant people considering you're DC. I mean, Nicole's out here in Colorado. I think at the time she was in Virginia.
Yeah, she was in Virginia Beach and she was one of the only flows there. So I actually worked with her a lot in Virginia Beach and she was awesome. She let me teach the requisite stuff. Like I think I taught all the breakouts in her group. She jumped in a few times. And then at the very end, she told me that I did a really, really good job and that she would be recommending me for a third internship. And I basically went back to the car and cried a little bit because I was trying to do it too.
Technically good news. It was technically good news. Hey, and I've told people that over the years, you'll hear the come back in 3 months, come back in 6 months, or we're recommending a third like you had. And I'm like, hey, the alternative is don't come back.
Right. Yeah. I think I knew someone that was on staff and he did it in two, and so like I just really wanted to do it in two also. So like I can't remember any of the feedback that she gave me because it was like 10 years ago. Um, but then like a week later, I got an email from Nicole Carroll saying that I had made it. So
Wow.
yeah, there you go.
2 times. And how many seminars do you think you've worked over the last 10 years?
I just asked my mentor, Maggie, and I think it was 206, maybe
Wow.
207. I don't know if the one that I just did at that point was counted.
Yeah, I think we're probably not too far off. I'm probably like in the 220s. So yeah, I mean, think about that though. I mean, but I mean, we had a 2 or 3 year kind of time where we weren't working a lot. So the average seems like only 20 a year. But in reality, there was like when you and I first got on staff, I mean, there was a 5 year stretch. We probably worked every weekend.
I worked every weekend or like three, at least three a month for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Recently, not nearly as many. For
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think I was at 200 when we had that summit and we got the patches, remember? So like, and now I'm
Yeah.
like at like 220. So it's really like the last 2 years has just been incredibly slow. What for me, when the pandemic kind of hit and seminars kind of slowed down and stopped, it was kind of like beating your head against the wall. And then when you stop, you're like, oh, this kind of feels nice. Like I stopped, right? Like,
Yeah.
what did you feel?
Honestly, the exact same. Like I was just going at it. I remember when the pandemic started and I had like five or six seminars just canceled,
Hmm.
like in a row. And I just was really upset about it. But then a few weeks in, I was just like, actually, I kind of like having my weekends to do weekend things, even if it's, in the middle of a pandemic and you're not allowed to do anything.
Especially DC got hit, right?
DC has had some of the worst pandemic restrictions that
Yeah.
I know of. Yes.
But yeah, it was just the weekend things like, oh, I can spend time with Roz, now with the baby, like spend time with her. And then, but it was also just like, turns out I feel a lot better when I sleep home 2 nights a week, maybe three, or eat
Yeah.
normal, right? Like, or don't sit on a uncomfortable plane. It was like all those little things that you don't realize. Like I said, it's like beating your head. It like feels so good when you stop. But
Yeah.
with that being said, I miss like I love work. Like I have a seminar, I have a level one this weekend, and I
Oh,
look forward to it. I look forward to it. Do you still look forward to it after all these years?
absolutely. Yeah. They're so fun and they're really, really challenging still. Like just practicing lectures ahead of time and making sure you're on your A game. Obviously, I have a seminar this weekend too, an L1, and I've been studying every day for it since,
That was one of the
since
biggest,
Sunday.
the bigger lessons too, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're in it, you're like you're not only giving the lectures, but you're hearing them every weekend,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was a period of time I was working maybe one a month and mostly level twos, and I was like, man, every seminar I get, I feel like I have to study for a month to prepare for. I've got 4 lectures. It's a 3-person gig, and I think one of the staff is newer, so I've got 4 lectures like what is CrossFit technique, nutrition, like the hard hitters this weekend, which I love, by the way. They're my favorite lectures to give, but I'm like, there's a lot of preparation. People think you just show up and coach. It's like, no, no, no. Like I'm spending an hour or two a day studying,
Yeah.
practicing again.
Practicing, giving the lectures, writing them out. I'm also doing what is CrossFit and technique. And technique is one that I haven't given in like at
Technique.
least 3 years. I can't even remember.
Yeah, every
So
time I give technique, I feel like it's the first time. You got to like, and it's funny because like those listening, like seminar staff, like I think of like there's 6 steps in the technique lecture, right? Like so, like
Mhm.
you're just like remember this.
And then here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like starts to flow. Fern and I talk about this all the time. You kind of alluded to it. It's like when you're on seminar staff, you're constantly learning, growing, and a lot of that is through feedback. And I
Hmm.
think that's a place 99% of the world doesn't live. And, you know, affiliate owners in general, coaches, need to improve at that. There's a skill in giving feedback, but there's also a skill in just like sitting back, accepting and receiving feedback. And when you've gone through the internship, but then even both, for the listeners, Mel this week and myself included, there's going to be a flow master there. Like, who are you working with?
Amy
Amy
Lyons.
Lyons from King of Prussia, and I'm working with Becky Harsh. who's got a new career path in CrossFit now as like the athlete lead. But we're gonna get we're after the seminar ends, or maybe Monday we'll get a phone call and it's like Sunday, Monday morning. Hey, by the way, here are the things you did well, but here are the things you need to do better, right? And it's like 200 plus. You'd think we'd have this down, but the point is, whether it's a lecture, whether it's coaching, you can always be better.
100%. Yeah.
Was that a big, mindset shift for you when you got on staff, like accepting that feedback?
I don't think I've ever been given feedback nearly as consistently as I have with seminar staff, just because it is part of the program. Like we get it for every single lecture almost that we do. I guess at first it was just tougher and like a little bit more emotional. Like I remember getting really upset after a deadlift feedback lecture.
Really?
Yeah, because I had so much, like I didn't do it. It didn't go that well. Like I was still new to presenting and just kind of wrapping my head around the lecture. And Chuck was giving me feedback, and he had a ton of feedback, and it was all right. But like, I think I started to cry just a little bit.
Really? With Chuck? Was he like, so what happened was,
so good at giving feedback, and it just wasn't wrong. So now I just expect it. And rather than just like try to, justify what you did. Oh, I did this because of this. Well, no, you still didn't. This is still like, something that I see that you could have done better. Just listen. Just,
that I think for a lot of people, yeah, the tendency is to try to justify it. Well, I did that because
yeah.
I was like, I don't care. It was still wrong, but and not, and when I was interning, I would just sit there and listen. I think that was a big reason I was always able to move forward, because I wouldn't try to argue or justify or, deflect the feedback. I was like, okay, I'll do that next time. So, all right, let me transition here. Like I said earlier, I was posting about rates. Do you mind talking rates?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's important.
Okay, so somebody
be transparent with these types of things.
Cool. So somebody walks in MPH. My buddy tells me, check out this CrossFit thing. I live, DC is kind of sprawling, right? It's big, but it's not. So, but traffic patterns, etc. So I'm sure you kind of have like a radius of people that are willing to get over to MPH.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm nearby, and I'm like, I want to come in. I walk in, I see your smiling face, and I say, hey, I'd like to join CrossFit. How much is it? What do you tell me?
I tell you I ask you how many days a week. Well, actually, Jason, we probably need to like talk about if you're, new to CrossFit or you've done CrossFit in the past first.
Well experienced, but let's pretend you're new. Let's pretend.
New.
So, but with that being said, you're saying there are some different, from what I'm hearing already, there's a few different options based on how often you're going to come in. And then you're going to also have some sort of onboarding process to get people into the box.
Yeah. So like, let's say you're new, you've never done CrossFit before, then we're probably going to talk about on-ramp. We'll talk about your experience. And with our gym, on-ramp is 3 one-on-one sessions with a coach. And you can schedule those pretty much whenever you want, as long as we're not having like a regular class happen. And then after that, the on-ramp package comes with those 3 sessions and then 2 weeks of membership. And that is, we just changed our prices again, like 2 months ago. They go up like 3% every year.
So no matter what, that's great.
Almost always, yeah. I think if 3% beats inflation, then we'll go
not
up
anymore. But yeah,
inflation,
it
obviously didn't beat it this year.
Yeah, but still, whether it's 3%, which by the way, like 99% of successful businesses do, and you just don't realize it, right? Your carton of milk's going up, your box of Twinkies, whatever you're buying, it's all going Chipotle, it's all going up 3% for that, because everything goes up in price. So I think as a box owner, non-negotiable, if you don't want to increase rates, at a minimum 3%. Of course, like Mel just said, this year, I think the inflation was like 8%. Now, I don't know if they should go up 8%, but a little more than 3% potentially. So what'd you go up to?
I think, let me actually look, but I think all of our numbers are kind of weird because we literally just add 3%. So it's like 254.83 or something. Let me take a look for you.
By the way, that's baller when the owner doesn't even know the exact rates. That's just like, you know what? I got somebody that handles this. Yeah. Let's what are they?
This is a really competitive rate, to be honest, for 3 one-on-one sessions
Let
plus
me guess.
each of our unlimited classes.
I'm
It's
gonna
at
guess 249.
close, 256.
All right, yeah, because
Yeah, it was
you said
249
competitive.
last year.
Yeah, you figure like around that $75, which by the way, 3 one-on-one sessions, people
Deal.
aren't like if you're not charging at least 225 for that, that's 75 an hour. Like
Yeah.
20 years ago at Gold's Gym, I was charging like 45 an hour.
Yeah. No,
20
those
years
are
ago, right?
everyone knows that. And if they're walking in and like in our gym, they most likely have tried personal training or like have been like asked to do personal training, and they know what those rates are. So that is not the hard sell at all.
You can't go to, I'm sure like near you have Soul Cycle, you have yoga, you have all those things. And I'm assuming at a minimum it's $20 a drop in or, per punch on your card,
Yeah.
whatever you're doing there.
Barry's is like Barry's is like 35. Soul Cycle is 33 to 35 in the area. So our drop and that's what that's a group. And personal training, like our regular personal training rates, if it's not on ramp, it's a little over $2 a minute. So these are heavily discounted.
Well, we'll keep this in mind. First of all, that includes 2 weeks of membership, like you said. But more importantly, we hear all the time from owners. It's like, well, how do I motivate my staff? Well, one, pay them. Yeah. And if you're only charging 30 or 40 an hour for an on ramp or for a one-on-one session, you basically have to give them 100% of that to incentivize them. I mean, you literally can make $20 an hour at Starbucks these days. Right. Yeah. So you want to train, like, don't get me wrong, baristas are well trained, but you want your, CrossFit trainers to come in there motivated, excited, and continuing to, expand their horizons with education. You have to pay them. So even if you paid your trainers 35, 40 an hour, the gym's still making money, which by the way, it should, because you're paying rent and electricity and for all the equipment, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. And my coaches, like for on-ramps, you have to be pretty experienced to teach one of those, since it's bringing someone in from new, you want them to get like the 5-star experience right away. So yeah, like we pay them $50 an hour for on-ramps. And
right.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. $50 an hour. Yeah. I mean, and don't forget 2 weeks of that 256 is also, should be earmarked towards membership. I know it probably breaks down a little different for their first, for this first session here, but you have to factor that in. So you're not giving away, but you're 150 immediately goes to payroll.
Right. Yeah.
So now if somebody goes through this, what are your options for memberships? And while you're doing this, I know people are saying, well, Mel, MPH, you're in Washington, D.C. Mel speaks in hyperbole about this. She believes DC is the best city in the world. And I remember having that conversation with you. Me say that? I remember we had a conversation. I vividly remember you and I had a conversation. I was like, Mel, you're crazy. It's clearly New York City. Like, it's not even a opinion based. It's just like factual. Like Manhattan, New York City is the biggest, greatest city in the world. Then you can debate about, like, sure, the DCs, the Denvers, the Houstons, whatever. But it's certainly a metropolis. The cost of living is probably a little bit higher. I'm sure the median income's a little bit higher. So just because these are her numbers in DC, they may seem a little inflated, but the bigger picture I want to tell people is, what's up, Best Hour listeners? I'm here with founder of O2, Dave Kalina, and if you haven't heard about O2, it's a cleaner, healthier sports drink, and the best part about it, only 1 gram of sugar. But what I really want to talk about is the special we have for you listeners.
So the special is pretty awesome. I know I'm biased, but I have to say we kind of went all out for you guys here. If you buy 4 cases of O2, you will get 4 cases for free, as well as a free branded O2 mini fridge, as well as one of these awesome O2 Yeti water bottles, and we'll even have the Best Hour logo on there. So it's pretty good.
This is something I drink every day. You guys know, if you listen to the Best Hour podcast or you watch Dropping In, it's really important to myself and to Fern that we only support companies that we actually endorse and use ourselves. I love O2. I drink 2 a day. You can buy it caffeine free. I do that after 3 p.m. But if you want the one with caffeine, it's a great pre-workout. It doesn't make you jittery. It just makes you PR. So, Dave's the man. He set up a great deal just for us, Best Hour. Check it out. 4 cases, 4 for free, a fridge, a Yeti, and you get our love.
You'll get all 4 flavors, by the way, in those 4 free cases. So you'll have 8 cases total, 2 of each flavor. And I think the best part about O2 is it just tastes awesome. So give it a shot, enjoy it. And we've got 100% money back guarantee also. So if you don't like it, we'll take care of you, but that like never happens. So
You're gonna love it.
You're gonna love it.
Your numbers are low. Not you, Mel, but like the listeners, like her numbers may be on the higher end of what's acceptable. People are paying them, so clearly they're not too high, but your 120s, your 130s a month, I don't care if you live in South Dakota or Idaho or, you know, where you live in the United States, if you're not charging an absolute minimum of about 150, I would say that's probably the lowest. You're just afraid of charging. It's not that the value's not there, or you live in such a rural area that the community can't afford it.
Yeah. And I would just go on to say, like, it's got to be really, really hard on those affiliate owners to do the basics, like pay their coaches and pay rent if, you know, they're not charging enough.
Yeah. So talk to me about your rates there at MPH.
Okay, so we have 2 memberships. That's it. They're all just monthly. Yep. Monthly memberships. You can cancel at any time before the next payment occurs.
Anytime, like even a day before?
Wow. I mean, we asked them for 3 business days notice just so they don't, like, we don't run into a situation where they send us a cancellation email on Saturday night. We don't see it until Monday, and then they're like mad at us because we've charged them. But
Gotcha.
Yeah. You know, we used to have like a 1-month cancellation penalty, but we didn't enforce it. So I think
fair. I think it's okay to have. I think if you had it, it's cool. But I also get it. It's like, well, if I'm not going to enforce it, why do I have it?
Yeah, this is something that I can do and I feel good about. And, you know, like if we're not giving them the service that they want and they want to leave, that's fine. We do everything in our power to give them the best possible CrossFit experience every single day. So
cool. So what are the 2 rates?
Okay. So we have an unlimited membership, which is obviously come in as many times as you want. And that's $282 plus tax every month.
Wow. Okay. I thought we were going 205-ish. $282 plus tax.
$282 plus tax. And that comes out to $299 with tax. Because the one thing I hate about DC, one of the things is that we have a 6% health tax. So like gym memberships are taxed 6%. It is nuts.
But you bake that into the membership. So you're not eating that on the back end.
We don't eat that on the back end. That would really.
What did that come out to? 282 came out to what? But what was the final price?
$299.
$299.
Yeah. And then the limited membership, the second membership option is 12 classes per month, limited membership. And that is $249.96 per month.
With the tax?
Without the tax, sorry. With the tax, it is $264.96.
That's interesting. I always think like you need to like we're not opposed to limited memberships. It just has to make sense. And for $30 more, I can come in literally more than twice as often.
Yeah. Yeah. We also tell people that they can switch as much as they want. Like for the next month. Yeah. Like, hey, Jason, I noticed that you came in 12 times and you still had a week left in your membership, do you want to upgrade? It's only,
Oh, so they can upgrade during the month.
they can upgrade during the month. Sure. We just charge them early for the next month, or
Okay,
we
that's
charge them
cool.
the difference.
That makes sense. Yeah, but on the flip side, if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have a busy month, in October, can you just put me on the 12 times? You'll do that.
We'll do it, but we ask them, like if we notice that they've switched a couple of times, we'll be like, hey, let's
We
not switch every single month because it's kind of a lot of admin work for us to do.
and with those 12 times, is there any other limit, like 3 a week, or is it just I can come 12 consecutive days and then not come?
Yeah, it's whatever you want, however you want to do it. Mhm.
So if I were to ask you in the DC area what you would say the average CrossFit membership is, what would you peg it at?
It's really not that much less. Our limited membership is probably what most folks' unlimited membership is. It's probably about
So
like
in
30
general,
than us.
it's
Yeah.
higher than than called the U.S. average, or I'd say the worldwide average, really. So I guess the question to you is, assuming you're the most expensive affiliate, and I think this is where a lot of affiliates struggle, right? In their area, they look around, and rather than figuring out like their own value, why they're going to charge stuff, they kind of Google like CrossFit, Boise, and find the 5 boxes and look at those rates and either try to plug themselves right in the middle or even below. So
Yeah.
you knowing you're the most expensive box in DC, how did you feel comfortable putting your rate there?
I think, again, we just really try to do everything right in terms of coaching. Like just doing the basics, running the best possible class, having a lot of non-class time experiences for our members. Like we're doing a participation challenge. Last week we had an event at an art gallery. A few weeks before that, we had just we do a happy hour every month. We had a happy hour a few weeks ago just for the
You're
girls of MPH. But
Are you still
mostly
at the
it's
same place? Sorry, were you still at the same place you were about 5 years ago? Like it wasn't huge. It was pretty
it's
tight.
very small. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
but and
20.
you're moving. You said, but you're still at the same place. So it's not like you can say like, well, we're at this massive spot and this and that. I mean, it was your
No,
standard looking CrossFit affiliate in DC.
it is. Yeah. I mean, our space isn't how we set our price. Like our space is small for a CrossFit gym. We have 12 spots available in every class.
Oh, that's it. So not only that, you've limited. How many classes do you have a day?
8.
Okay, so you have a
We're
lot of classes.
maximizing
That's
it
not
on
high.
that. And you know what? Sometimes, so the standard class has 12 people, but sometimes if it's like a strength day or just if not everyone needs, every piece of equipment, we'll add a few spots to class. But most of the time it's at 12 right now. Our new space, it's going to be somewhere between 15 and 17, which I am absolutely excited
That's
about.
awesome.
Yeah.
So are
I
you
mean,
finding you hit the cap often?
yeah. Yeah. Probably like two to 3 or 4 classes a day we'll cap
Oh
out.
wow.
Yeah. So,
So
or
you're
we'll just have to
for
add
those
extra people in.
right, for those listening saying 260, 299 is too much, you're at capacity. It's probably not only not too much, it's probably too little because in reality it's supply and demand, right? You should be higher and get less people and then build back up to that capacity. But I mean, I think that's still a fantastic place and then where you're at capacity 50% of the time. And you know, again, I always tell people like a lot of box owners are like, well, I'll change my new rates. So my attitude is you're willing to increase rates for people that haven't experienced your affiliate yet, but leave the people that have been coming in for months, if not years, at the same rate. The ones that are clearly saying, I get this thing, I want to keep doing it. You're like, let's keep you there. And ultimately, again, you're at capacity.
We're
You could be,
close. Yeah.
but if
We're not
a
happy.
box is capacity,
Yeah.
you're like, well, I might be filling that class with that lower paying customer and actually pushing out people that want to pay my new rates at full price. So I think the lesson there is like everyone should be paying the same.
Yes. So we made that mistake early on, like 10, 12 years ago when I think our first rates were, honestly, I can't even remember, 209, 229, something like that, like 13 years ago. And we came from like the big box Gold's Gym environment where like you got to lock in a rate forever. So we thought that's how we should do it. But then we had these huge disparities with people where like one person was paying $20 or $30 more a month than the person right next to them in class. So we had to do this like rate reconciliation
Mm-hmm.
situation like 5 years in, where we just like gradually added to all of the people that weren't at the current rate. And like we thought it was going to be horrible. We thought we were going to lose people, but we didn't really, you know.
Yeah.
And now like if a rate increase happens, it's the whole community. Just because it's not fair
No, it's
for
fair
people
across
to
the
be
board by
concerned.
doing that.
Yeah.
So, and then, the thing that I like that you said when I asked you, like, how you justify the value, the first answer you gave was coaching. The second answer you gave was, basically by, working on and growing our community. Two
Yeah.
things, like, you didn't mention, like, well, we got all new Echo bikes or we have Alico bars. Like, it's all like the intangible, stuff that, not that it doesn't require money. It definitely does. I mean, education and practice and feedback and all that. But it's this, like, that's where the value of a CrossFit is, like in the coaching, in the community building. And I think that's where a lot of affiliates just struggle to realize their actual value and actually what they're doing for their community. I mean, a way to look at it is like if you disappeared, what would the impact be on those 100, 200 people that come to your box? It would be detrimental, it'd be huge.
Yeah. They wouldn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, and I mean they would. I mean there'd be other CrossFits,
So
but I
yeah,
mean
sure. They
it's your family, right?
go
It's
to a
like,
CrossFit gym.
but it would be like a terrible
Yeah.
experience for them because this is their family.
Yeah. And I think that people in our industry, like people that help people, are kind of afraid sometimes to charge what they're worth, just because, like, we're helping you. We're not. I'm not a salesperson. I'm a CrossFit coach. But the thing is that if you don't help yourself and you don't, pay your coaches and yourself a living wage, then you can't do any help in the future, or you will struggle personally, and that will make it so that like you get burned out and you're not rewarded for all of your hard work. So I would say like make sure that your product is really good, and then charge for it, as charge what it should be charged. What should be.
Yeah, and we've all been on airplanes where one of the things they tell you is put your mask on first, and I think it's the same principle there. Like if you're a box owner and you're burned out and you're run ragged and you're not able to train anymore because you're so busy, doing everything, and eventually, I mean,
It's the worst.
eventually that,
Yeah.
yeah, you're gonna close, and then so what you're being a martyr, and rather than helping these people long term, it's a matter of time before you're done. That flame goes out, and now these people that you're supposedly trying to help have no help. And the crazy thing is, with everyone we work with rate increases, 100% of the time they're successful. And I would say of those 100%, like 99% of those, the members are like, cool, we're happy to pay more. Like, we're glad we're helping you. Like, you think they don't want you to like, if you're rolling up in a Ferrari and showing off all the money
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
making,
that's
it's one
problematic.
thing, right? But it's like, oh, like my box owner was able to afford a new car instead of that like 1990 Cavalier that he was driving, or I saw them out to dinner with his family. Like I want the people in my life that are providing value and being of great service to also live really great lives. And it's weird that box owners feel like that's a bad thing.
Yeah, or they're just afraid. They're afraid to ask for it, I guess. I mean, they might aspire to it, but they don't take the steps necessary to go there because it's uncomfortable at first.
Yeah. So, and like Mel said, 13 years ago, I mean, even your rates 13 years ago were still in the 200s, right? And again, DC might be a little bit different, but you made some of those mistakes that a lot of box owners make. I've made them where you try to grandfather people in, but now
Yeah.
you've gotten everybody up to the standard rates and you're going to go up 3% again. And is that pretty standard now? Is it, you never do like a massive jump? It's almost always just 3% a year.
Yeah, we've been doing about 3% every year for the last, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 years. I think, as I said earlier, if we check what inflation is, so like if a couple years ago, inflation was like 2%. So I think we went up 2% that year instead of 3%. Although now that I'm thinking about that, I think maybe in the future we just do the 3 each year because of what happened
Balances
this
out.
year.
Yeah. Exactly. And it also compounds, right? So 3%
Yeah.
on 299 is bigger than it was on 260 or whatever. So it does
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does balance out. But yeah, rather than going up 9% one year and then 1%, just that standard 3%. I think again, if you're an affiliate, this episode's out in October. You should be thinking about that now. You should be thinking about, okay, January 1, every standard gym around the world is probably increasing their rates. Why
Mhm.
aren't you as a CrossFit affiliate doing the same? It's October, you know, sit down, write a rate increase email. Don't be apologetic about it. Just let them know, hey, in order to stay in business for 2023, our rates are going to go up to X. And from there, I think that should be something that you just send out every year.
Yeah. And I think like the way that you phrase that rate increase email is really important. If you say like, hey, every year we do this, we do a small cost of living rate increase. Um, it's like I'm just kind of looking at mine now, actually, one that we send out almost every year. And it just says, like, hey, rate increases, our annual rate increase is an essential adjustment and allows us to continue to compensate our staff, train new coaches, and make improvements to the gym space. And then when you phrase it like that, like people are like, oh, that's where my money's going. Like it's not just going to the Ferrari.
Yeah.
that my owner's
Yeah. I
saving
mean, don't get me wrong, that Ferrari takes a lot of gas, but
Yeah,
it's
of course.
it's no, it's true. That's what I think boxers are always doing, that justification too. Well, should I buy new equipment? Should I do this or that? I'm like, no, what Mel just said, it's like every year to get my coaches better, that takes time, effort, and energy and money, right? If they're
Yeah.
taking if you have some level threes on staff, they're taking CEUs, right? If
Mhm.
or they're going to their level two, like all, or they're doing other courses that are out there outside of the CrossFit
I mean,
ecosystem.
or God forbid you actually pay your trainers more every year. Like,
Yeah,
do they get a pay increase? Hopefully, maybe, if it's possible.
absolutely. Right. Mel's not pocketing that 3%
No.
exclusively. It's going to the entire facility.
Yeah.
Well, it's no wonder your parents are not disappointed in you like mine are, because you got everything dialed in. I think you're doing great, and
Oh,
now
thanks.
I understand why mine are disappointed, because I'm not as dialed in as you. But
That's not true at all. You're extremely successful, Jason.
I like to, I don't like to let everybody know that. But all I need is my parents' love. Doesn't matter. All the success doesn't matter. Um, no, but Mel, I'm really glad you came on and talked about it, and I hope the listeners understand. Like again,
Yeah.
it's very easy to brush this aside and say she's in DC. I hear you, but it kind of remove the location and the price from this, and just think about like a fair value for your box. 299 is probably not what you're charging, in the suburbs of Colorado or wherever you live. But 110 is also not what you should be charging, in that same area. So think about that fair value. Don't send out an email tomorrow going from 110 to 170, right? Like Mel experienced, there's probably some ramping up associated with that. The big picture that I want box owners to take from this is, hey, what is my true value? And am I undervaluing myself? and can I be charging more? And by charging more, am I going to create a better product for the members and also allow my coaching staff to live their lives as well?
Yeah. And I would just add, like, hey, if you really are uncomfortable charging a higher rate because you think the value isn't there, then maybe that's like on you to increase the value. Maybe that's, doing better lesson planning or leading your warm-ups like coach led, instead of just giving them the warm-up on the board, or seeking out further education or other mentors to help you be confident in charging more.
Great points there, Mel. Thank you so much for coming on. Good luck this weekend. I'm sure you'll crush it. I hope you don't cry if Amy gives you feedback. Amy's harsh. Right?
That was the last time since.
All right, last time.
That's another story for another day.
Also, a lot of people have been saying you're not putting as many dance videos up on your social media as you were doing at one time.
People have been saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been reaching out, asking me to tell you to get more dance videos up.
Got it. I really, I have to go back to dance. That was something that I kind of lost in the pandemic. And now, like, the new gym, building out this new gym is like running my life, to be honest. So I don't necessarily have the energy. But as soon as we open, I'm going back.
All right. We'll look forward to those dance clips on Instagram, Mel.
Thank you
so much for coming on.